G'day, I'm Will Anderson. Welcome to Gruen. We'll get to our panel in a moment, but first, everyone loves Santa, so why is every brand trying to own Santa? According to Subway, Santa doesn't eat any cookies, he eats Subway cookies.
His favourite cookies in the whole wide world. Only $1 at Subway.
Come on, Subway, Santa doesn't eat fresh. He drinks milk left out all night. According to Coke, Santa doesn't even drink milk anymore. He drinks Coke no sugar. Must be trying to wash away the taste of Subway cookies. And Santa doesn't have a naughty list, he has a rebel sporty list, which is like the naughty list for when a footballer is caught with a suspicious white powder. Snow. Aldi has been running their How Can We Wet Santa series since 2012. And this year, they've drenched him again. Next year, they'll waterboard Santa until he reveals the location of the secret workshop. But hang on, Santa is also in the new Woolies ad.
Carrots? Yup.
We grown for Woolies.
Woolies?
Oh, Santa, you brand ho, ho, ho. At least, unlike Woolies, Santa properly reimburses farmers. Santa doesn't drive a sleigh anymore, he drives a truck of Coke. You know it's a rough year when even Rudolph lost his job. Santa isn't in the North Pole, he's in Fremantle. Why? To buy a surfboard. Must be auditioning for an Aldi ad. And Santa doesn't even have a workshop, he has a warehouse where he doesn't listen to Jingle Bells, he's trapped in Jingle Hell. Santa loves Bunnings so much, he wanders around painting pots, not the pot I asked for, Santa. He shoplifts presents and reads letters.
Dear Santa, Mummy wants to grow herbs.
Me too, Santa. Then I can bake you my favourite cookies. Time to welcome our panel of little helpers, Todd Sampson, Priya Patel, Kamea O'Keefe and Russell Howcroft. Earlier this year, nearly half of all gyms lost over 60% of their clients. Don't know why, but the app industry is making gains. One of the most popular health apps in the world is Australian. No, not that one. It has the very un-COVID safe name of Sweat and has been downloaded over 30 million times. And its South Australian creator, Kayla Itzines, has sprinted onto the AFR Young Rich list. Now celebrities are clamouring to get their own confusingly named fitness apps. Michelle Bridges has 12 WBT, which is like WD-40 for your body. Sonia Kruger has Strictly You, which is strictly not for me. And now Chris Hemsworth is promising to get you as shredded as Liam and Miley's wedding photos.
We're all different, but with one inherent power in common. The choice to be a work in progress.
Let's go.
To push the body and the mind just a little bit each day. And you have the same choice.
Come on.
A choice to be a human doing rather than simply a human being. But know this, you don't have to make yourself by yourself.
No thanks. Chris promotes the app through viral Instagram posts. Fun fact, that's a normal-sized tyre and Chris is tiny. Priya, are apps the death of the gym?
Well, the thing with health and fitness is that it's always a bit of a balancing act between aspiration and realism. So when you use celebrities like this, the Chris Hemsworths of the world, they give you that absolute aspiration. He is undeniably a model for fit, and people want to look like that. And what the app enables you to do is get a little look behind the scenes as to how he actually achieves that. So the personal trainers or the nutritionists or the holistic care that he gets. So in a way, what the app is doing is democratising knowledge that previously would only be available to a very few section of people. And the other thing that apps tend to look to do, these fitness apps, is they're looking at all the pain points in the category. So the excuses you make for not going to the gym, like I don't have enough time, they fix that with a 7-minute workout. So actually, one by one, they're just sort of giving gyms a real run for their money. And I think the COVID context has been perfect for them to fly. You know, the gyms are shut and the apps offer a really robust substitute.
It's a fantastic example of just the whole world digitised off the back of COVID. And maybe the gym's almost the most extreme example when, you know, these were things that people visited often, you know, as often as possible. When all of a sudden it's shut to you, And then the so-called pivot that occurred during the course of this year, there's no greater example than what happened with fitness apps.
Yeah, I think any app that helps with fitness is a good thing. And I think to get Chris's voice, just his voice alone would be hugely expensive. But to get Chris in the ad itself, would have been hugely beneficial to them. And this is what they would refer to as a purpose ad. So they're sort of establishing the purpose of that company. And they sort of had me motivationally until they got to human beings versus human doing. And then I thought they'd just gone over the top with the writing. And the other...
I'm a human turning off this advertisement.
It's funny how little things in an ad can switch you off it, though. You could just go, oh, that's a bit too much. Like, up until that point, you're thinking, all right, it's inspirational. It's about we're work in progress, which is true, and you don't have to do it alone. You can use an app to help you. It's true. And then we're human doing, not human being, and you're like, ah.
Yeah, but he's clearly taking the piss, isn't he?
Do you think he is in that spot?
I mean, this is...
No,
Well,
I thought that was earnest. I think there's other aspects of his sort of promotion of Centre that does feel like a bit of a wink. But that did put me off. I thought, my goodness, that is totally sort of emanating this earnest kind of purity, like my body is a temple energy. That did totally put me off.
The latest trend in fitness isn't working your body, it's working your mind. LeBron James spooks a meditation app. Golf Australia released a 3-hour mindfulness experience that's somehow even more boring than golf. And Centre has this.
Close your eyes. Imagine you're someplace far, far away. Now just be there. Oh, what a coincidence. I'm there too. Well, isn't this cozy?
Less namaste, more nah, mate. Todd, how did the mind become the new body?
It's not so much that it's the new body, it's the new profit center. So we used to split them in fitness and diet, and both make huge, billion-dollar businesses. And the mind was kind of left on its own, but it's obviously interconnected with those things. And then many apps came along. One specific app, Calm, came along, which is valued at $2 billion. And people realized, wow, there's a whole nother area of fitness to look at, the mind. And the good thing about that for them is it's also the least measurable. Where everything else you can see, are you losing weight? Are you getting fitter? Is your body fat going down? But with the mind, it's very difficult to track your progress. And now, most apps move towards the trend of holistic health. Most apps incorporate all of it. Diet, mind, fitness.
I think it is lovely, the notion of well-being and that kind of holistic view of taking care of yourself coming to the fore more. But I am a little bit cynical about the health and fitness industry because this notion of wellness is just a way, I think, of selling you twice as much stuff.
He's not seriously in a bed of flowers, seriously up to his waist.
No, I agree with that.
water.
But the line is real. I think the bed of flowers
I know.
is
So, and seriously having choristers in the background as if he's in, St Paul's Cathedral. I mean, it's sort of... And I'm going, oh, what is the tone of this? Surely he's taking the piss.
Yeah, I think it's heavily dosed with irony. And I think it's self-reflective on his Thor godlike status. Like, he's leaning into it. Like, you know me as the apex of man, and here I am being apex man.
But in a bed of flowers, right? So it's sort of, he can only be having fun with this.
Executionally, this is where I think Chris comes into his own, because most things associated with meditation or with mental health is quite serious and takes itself serious.
Analog Gym Fitness First is trying to fight back by showing old grey balls, just like you see in the gym locker room, and annoying equipment.
Honestly, I don't mind leg day, but it's...
But it's the 2 days after you can't stand, right?
Oh, you've heard that one.
Everyone's heard that one.
That's Pixar's very disappointing new film, Outside In. Russell, will that ad bring people back to the gym?
Not a chance. I find it extraordinary that, well, if you're competing with the Hemsworths, it does make it pretty hard if you're fitness first, because, there's a very high bar you've got to jump. But in the end, advertising's still got to create a proposition. It still has to have a benefit. There's got to be, in particular, aspiration.
As an execution, it was really odd because it didn't play to any of the strengths of a physical gym. It doesn't incentivise me to go back. It doesn't remind me what I love about the gym. Probably incentivises me to renew to the app for a year.
It definitely feels like they've got other levers they could pull. So, like, of all the equipment they could show, really the kettlebell is what they're going with. Like, you could buy a kettlebell and have it at home, like, for $10.
Not anymore.
You can't really have all of that really technical equipment, the stuff that is too large to physically fit in your home. Like, that's a USP, double down on it.
Yeah.
Live classes, exactly, double down on it. Real physical community and space. And all the added extras, you know, like throwing in PT, throwing in the cafes, throwing in a nutritionist. I think there's lots of ways in which gyms could fight back, but that ad isn't really playing to any of their strengths.
Could they even go on the attack? Because I think about home exercise, the propensity to not do it, the propensity to hurt yourself. There feels like a whole bunch of things you could identify with people using the apps and exercising at home and actually flip it on its head and turn
or bring
it
the
into an
apps
attack.
in. A lot of people are bringing the apps into the gym. So they're training. You see them, they got headsets on. My gym, by the way, is packed. It's full to the brim. Like, I hope not more people come. And a lot of people are using apps. You see them in the corner, they've got their phone flipped up, or they're doing their training with using these apps. So they're not mutually exclusive. They're encouraging people to train.
It's not just gyms trying to spruce up their image. Weight Watchers have shed over 10 letters and rebranded as WW, which sounds less like a name and more like the start of its website. WW also has an app.
My WW, your new customised weight loss program. Just answer a few questions and get matched to a proven plan that fits your life. How often do you eat bread?
I lost weight my way and kept it off with my WW.
That how often do you eat breadometer might be a nasty shock to one WW ambassador.
I love bread. I love bread.
Me too, Oprah. Me too. And the WW rebrand went so well, they have to say WW, formerly Weight Watchers. Cam, why can't WW lose their name and keep the letters off?
Well, a lot has changed since Weight Watchers first launched. People were explicit about wanting to lose weight, but in the world of wellness, we can't message that way anymore. So you can't be chasing thin or trying to drop kilos. You're actually trying to get strong or be healthy. And so I think Weight Watchers want to keep up with the new kids on the block, but they've sort of moved away from what was their core promise to their customers, and that's losing weight. I don't think you can move away from what was your fundamental promise to customers and expect that you'll keep them with you.
What they're doing doesn't work. It's window dressing.
Yes.
It's called My WW, but it's still a diet. It's still about counting calories. You're just doing it on an app, and you still have to go weigh yourself. Like, there's all this legacy shaming around public weigh-ins. So now you don't have to publicly weigh in. You can just do it in private or skip the weigh-in. But there's so many legacy problems with that brand, and they don't seem to have actually fixed those. They've just created an app and rebadged it.
Since everyone else was getting a fitness app, I thought I would too. Why?
I love bread.
I do. Introducing Wellness. This looks hard. I can't do that. I won't do that. And I don't want to hit a tyre with a hammer. Forget wellness. This is Wellness. Because we can do these things, but why bother? You might have thought Kendall Jenner solved racism back in 2017 when she starred in a Pepsi ad that featured powerful protest signs such as "Join the O Conversation" and culminated in her giving a can of Pepsi to a police officer. Wow, you've convinced me. This year, the Black Lives Matter movement captured the attention of the world, and other brands tried to join the O Conversation too. Band-Aids finally come in colours other than just pasty backpacker. Yorkshire Tea told racist customers, "Don't buy our tea," and some familiar snacks decided to get with the times. Good thing Redskins went with the unproblematic name Red Ripper, which turned out to be a notorious serial killer. When the Canadian owners of Gruen Xs announced the brand's name would be retired in order to eliminate racism in all its forms, people were thrilled.
Millennial woke morons who only know what they read on Twitter want the cheese to change its name.
He seems nice. Cam, how do you decide it's worth making the change?
We'd like to think that it is because we make a moral choice and we do what's right or wrong, which I recognise is subjective, but they're commercial enterprises, so they run the numbers. So it might go something along the lines of, what do we think our core customer thinks about this particular issue? How will that affect their sentiment and purchase behaviour? How much money are we set to lose or make as a result of that kind of position? And therefore, what do we want to do before they make the call?
You simply have to. Yeah, you absolutely have to change, and you have to change it vigorously, aggressively. And I also think not really worry about the downside, because I think if you do it properly, there's very, very little downside risk.
I mean, removing racial stereotypes in communication and packaging is not going to solve systemic racism, but it helps. And why wouldn't you do it? And it was much easier to ignore customers before social media. Now, not only are companies listening more, but people are speaking more. And I remember living in Canada with Aunt Jemima, remember? And the strategy of putting a black woman on the packaging was from a time when racism was okay in society. And the reason they put her on, and many black people on the packaging, was to make white people feel less guilty that they were accepting black people into their homes. So the packaging was part of signaling that they were progressive in a way. All of that needs to be eliminated.
Yeah, I don't think any brands are exempt from this conversation anymore. Like, I think it's now just the degree to which you participate and move the conversation forward. So are you an ally or are you an activist? Because you can't be neutral. If you're neutral, then you're on the side of racism. Systemic racism is something that you're tacitly endorsing. So I think, Russell, I agree, you have to make the change, and it comes with very little real repercussion, especially when you look at where the audience is going to come from in 10 years to come. So if you look at millennials and Gen Z and their attitudes and their value systems, they expect brands to live and behave with integrity, and they want to see a value system in the brands they purchase from.
Now, there was a timing thing that's happened here, because all of these brands could have been fixed many, many years ago. But now they're being fixed. And a lot of people have complained that this is a Black Lives Matter washing of... But I don't have a problem with that. If companies are jumping on board of this movement, if they are taking action, they're going to get some positive PR momentum behind it, then go for it.
So this stuff, it always comes in waves, goes away, and then comes back again, goes away. And what's really important is if brands are changing, then that is real change, isn't it? So it's a solid, active change. The very fact that it's taken now for Band-Aids to do what they've done, that you could sort of go, oh my God, it's taken them a very long time to do that. On the other hand, you can celebrate the fact that they finally got there, and then that is a permanent change.
According to AI analysis, around the time of July's Black Lives Matter protests, skin tones in social media posts by beauty brands became darker. In the months since, they have trended lighter. Plenty of brands committed to fighting injustice through donations and black and white JPEGs. Still better than Colgate New Zealand's poorly timed influencer campaign, White Night In. But one of the most direct responses was from a brand that might surprise you, Barbie.
People might think that my life looks fine, but the truth is I and so many other Black people have to deal with racism. Barbie and I had a sticker selling contest on the beach last month. We split up and went different directions to see who could sell the most. Well, while I was on the boardwalk, beach security stopped me 3 times. What? They asked me all these questions over and over, and they even called my mom. The security officers thought I was doing something bad, even though I was doing exactly what you were doing. If we all work together, we can make a big difference.
Thank you so much for sharing all of this with me today.
Priya, why can Barbie afford to be more blunt than other brands?
Well, I think firstly, Barbie's talking to kids, right? So you have to be clear, you have to avoid metaphor and kind of complicated analogies. You've just got to tell it like it is. And I think the thing with Barbie is they've realised that playing with dolls is a microcosm of the real world. You know, the experiences, the way you behave, the way you see the dolls shape and colour your views of the real world. So I think it's actually great that they are raising these kind of issues and talking about them very openly, and kind of she has permission to play that educator role and teach compassion and inclusivity and understanding of other people's experiences. And I think that is the role that you've seen Barbie shift over the last 50 years, from going a sort of one-dimensional, ridiculously implausible kind of version of female to shifting to becoming more of a real role model and a strong kind of female. So I think this kind of conversation is exactly the type of one she can have and the brand can have.
It's also important to recognise that this gets watched by a lot of young girls. So Barbie education is something that people actively participate in. What I also think is interesting is that a lot of us have just seen that because it's not on this TV show. And I think a lot of people, not just young girls, a lot of adults would have looked at that and said, gee, you know, that is a reality for a large section of society, and that reality is just not on.
Yeah.
I think it's great to have the conversation with kids earlier. And I think that as a channel, Barbie does that. And I think she does it well. And seeing a person of colour as a doll, which also can be sold, I think is very, very important to have early representation, especially for kids. My issue with Barbie is that she is PCing herself because she has been the poster child for body image issues for a very, very long time. I remember I saw a computer-generated model of what Barbie would look like as a human, and her chest was so big and her hips so narrow that she constantly fell over.
She can't wear shoes.
That's right, she can't wear shoes, and her back was so small that she only had half a liver and she would have died of chronic diarrhea and bowel disease. Both
She's got to eat
things.
some more bread. That's what she's got to do.
Eats bread. So on the one hand, I'm super happy that we're talking to a younger generation, but on the other hand, Barbie's still got work to do as a role model for young kids.
Yeah, but
I mean, I was surprised to see this content because it's not a brand that you immediately go to when you think, OK, who is going to lean into political messaging?
What does Barbie have to say?
Yeah, exactly. But I think then you do stop and think and go, well, no, as a brand, it has had to evolve with the times far more than many others, you know, a can of Coke or a sports shoe, because she's sort of been at the epicentre of societal shifts. The sort of white, blonde, skinny, domestic goddess, you know, she's had to participate in those conversations. So I feel like on some levels, maybe the marketing team's more match fit. Do you know what I mean? They have constantly had to reassess, you know, where have we been? Where is culture going? Where is our future audience? And have those conversations and lean into them.
She does come in all different shapes and sizes now, you
days.
know, different hair.
Recently.
Different
Yes, recently.
heights. There's the whole mix now.
yeah, but that's good.
Yeah, that one
exactly.
that Barbie does still look like someone who might grow up to not wear a mask to Bunnings. You know? Last month, Beats by Dre released a powerful campaign that has already clocked up 21 million views on YouTube. Here's a taste.
You love black culture, but do you love me? You love how I sound, my voice, these beats. All men are created equal. That's my favourite part.
Cam, I love that ad too. What did you think of it?
Oh, it's magnificent. Yeah, I do love it. I think it's powerful, it's provocative, it's poetic. It's intensely beautiful to watch, even as it's throwing at you some really kind of confronting questions, because you have to question your own hypocrisy as you're mesmerised by the spot. So it's a stunner. I think also knowing the cast and crew behind it, it is an authentic spot because it really is a celebration of I suppose, strong black voices all excelling in their field.
I'm also happy the brand Beats has gone back to saying something important rather than just selling. Like, it's nice to see that. And I think the reason this ad works so well is that I think, like all storytelling and communication, is when it's dealing with a really complex topic, and in this case, the hypocrisy of actively consuming black culture and passively allowing the subjugation. And I think that is a meaty, complex message to get across.
I think it's really authentic to the brand's roots. I completely love it. It's obviously Dr. Dre, who has himself been a victim of racial injustice, so I think he has a real point of view. He is a famous black artist, and I think he represents that kind of community incredibly well, and he forces that confrontation of, you love hip-hop and R&B. It's the #1 music genre in America now, overtaken rock, but the way that the people are treated doesn't reflect that. So it's incredibly powerful juxtaposition, I think.
It's perhaps why I love advertising so much, Will. I think there's something so powerful about advertising because, in the end, the voice is clear. And when advertising is done at its best, it is a brand, in this case Dr. Dre, being very, very clear about its perspective. And as a result of being so clear about its perspective, it will contribute to change.
they practice what they preach, right? So there's a Black Futures program that they also established, which connects up-and-coming students and historically Black colleges with filmmaking industry, so that they actually are creating pathways and opportunities. So again, it's that mixture that brands have to tread around saying it, having a position, making that a credible and authentic position, and then actually delivering off the back end as well, whether that's investment or skin in the game of some sort.
Yeah, we have to act. So we actually have to act in a fashion which does reflect society and reflect what society wants.
Last month in the UK, supermarket Sainsbury's released 3 Christmas ads, 2 featuring white families and 1 black family.
Hey.
Hey, it's me.
Oh, hey, love.
I'm getting so excited for Christmas.
Christmas!
I cannot stop thinking about Mum's roasties.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. What about my gravy?
It led to a range of racist comments attacking the brand. Priya, is diverse casting hard when people are pricks?
Well, I found this Sainsbury's example pretty shocking, actually. So there were 3 ads, 2 featured white families, 1 featured a black family, all perfectly normal, relatable Christmas storytelling. And the backlash that came was actually shocking. And it makes you realise how very real racism still is. You know, the comments on there were completely vile. And I think good on Sainsbury's for, you know, doing it. I think they shouldn't be put off by it at all. I think it's a journey a lot of brands are going on, and progress is slow. You know, we've all just been celebrating that Beats ad, but it's quite rare, you know? You don't see true diversity in a lot of the work that's out there.
Yeah.
In a commercial context, it's really important to recognise that, let's call it diversity and inclusion. D&I is commercially smart. It's stupid not to have diversity and inclusion because you're just showing a narrow face to the public.
So whether or not there is that commercial imperative that forces it, I actually think it's the people making the decisions around the table. So to Priya's point earlier, it is quite homogenous, and so until those decision makers are inherently more diverse, you know, there's unconscious bias at play. It's difficult to make a decision because I think people wrestle, and I think it has come a long way. I think about meetings I've sat in, and there is definitely more genuine desire and consideration.
But don't make it a discussion that's about ethics and morality, and don't make it a discussion around doing the right thing. Make it a discussion around money. Around the boardroom table, that's a much easier discussion.
But if we should be able to have conversations about ethics in business.
Yes.
And businesses do have triple bottom lines. They do have responsibility. It doesn't just need to be about making more money.
No,
a company can take a position.
Of course it doesn't. Of course it doesn't. It has to be about doing the right thing, the right ethics, the right morality. It has to be about that. What I'm trying to say is, let's make the argument easier to win.
There are no easy answers to solve a problem like racism, but I think I know something that might work. Nah, that didn't help at all. Worth a try, though, I guess. Thanks to our panel, Todd, Priya, Cam and Russell.